I'd ask you to follow my train of thought here, because I was going to give this to AI later on and see if it comes to the same conclusions that I get to from this sequence of thought. So first you have the thing that you refer to when you say I. You have the self, the thinker, kind of. So you can draw it on a board. And many people probably recognize this thing as the old philosophy of cogito ergo sum, where you have the thinker, you have the thought, and those are separate from each other. So you basically have the self, and then you have the observer. You have the observer and the self, and those are distinct, separate. And you know that those exist because if you were being fooled, then you'd exist. And if you were being fooled, then that thought would exist. So there's certainly separation. So that would be truth. And the synonyms would be many or plural, distinct. And the opposite of those distinct or separate things, like we see many things in our world, what's the opposite to that then? It would be that everything's one. Well, we're in the realm one, with the separation stuff as our truth. And I was thinking that reality, we usually say it in singular, like we had plural on this separation side. So reality usually is singular, and not realities in 2, 3, 4. And E equals mc squared also describes it as singular. You have energy, mass, and you have a speed, which is space-time, in the same equations. You have something and nothing, everything and nothing overlapping and intertwining. So that also describes it as singular, as non-separate, or the opposite of our realm. And so all these singular and energy, mass, space-time, and intertwinedness, they're all described as one. So we have a new concept like separation, intertwinedness, opposition. We are on the separate side, and reality as one is on the opposite side. Like we can't see everything as one ever, because we always see separate things. And the first part is philosophy, and the second part is physics. So our internal world is philosophy, and the external world is physics. And these all describe reality as one. And that's the whole point, that oneness, that intertwinedness is the opposite of our separation realm. So we are in the separation realm, and we never see everything as one. That's like the Zen or the non-duality thing. And we can prove that it's infinite. Based on that, we can represent infinitely much, but nothing of that representation would be the opposite of separation, meaning one. We always, when we represent something or see something, there's many things. We never see everything as one. So even the infinite representation wouldn't be one that way. And then we have another proof that it's infinite. We can draw a size range between thinker and thought, for example. The size range is drawable, like from cosmology to astronomy to geology and biology and molecules and atoms and quantum physics. And we can prove that that thing goes infinitely far up and infinitely far down. And we can draw it between thinker and thought. So it's a legit drawing. And the proof number 2 that it's infinite is that there's no distinct borders. Like there's no maximum size or minimum size, because those would be distinctions in antidistinction. So if everything is one, then we don't have a max border or a minimum border. So relativity also tells us that no point is the center, so we're not the center of anything. Everything's relative, and every size is relative to every other size. So you have an infinite size range of energy, mass, space-time, and separation, intertwinedness, opposition. So it's one, that reality is, and it's infinite, and it's unseeable as a whole, and it's the cause for the world. The reality causes the world. So those are obviously the divine attributes. So it kind of touches on religion. Thinking this way builds all kinds of things like these. And it's true. This whole course went from certain truth step by step to it made sense. And when you go through this course, from thinker and thought and separation to the whole thing of the existential theory of infinite size range of energy mass spacetime and intertwinedness of precision would separate, blah blah. It kind of builds this like correct way of thinking or a right way through this. You begin with certain truths and then you go step by step to more complex truths. And that's kind of the right way of thinking, as correct sequence of thought through these things, like from cogito ergo sum to non-duality to the universe to, well, basically this right way of thinking, which is basically morality, I guess. Advancing science would be the correct way of thinking. So having a sequence through this kind of adds morality to the whole thing. So we have philosophy, physics, the universe, a little bit of divinity, and then morality. And I was thinking, what could this fix then? In culturally diverse societies, maybe it can be a bridge across different cultures. Everyone can agree with this truth. It goes step by step from certain truth to having this complex worldview. And in the warring regions, in the Middle East and Africa, maybe this can, since it touches on those divine attributes of one and infinite and a cause for existence, and can see all of it, even anti-idolatry is there. Maybe they will agree on this worldview and have something in common with each other, especially since it connects with that divine thing that they like. In secular and scientific hubs, maybe the inquiry and the philosophy of it is interesting for education and research, because you can plug in things into a size range drawing and explore this whole worldvieue further. But the thing is, I have this in my brain. Like I have the thinker, which is itself the I, the thing I refer to when I say I, and then I have this whole sequence all the way up to the morality arrow there of building more of this scientific truth. And I was thinking in Russia and China, they have this secular atheism. Maybe that's going to be educated by this idea-rich one. Thank you. Thank you.
I can see Albert become a very complicated guy.
That's all there is to it.
Yes, please.